Hey everyone! In this video, I'm working on a brand new enemy for my game, The Queen's Quest. I'm gonna walk you through my full design process from sketching the idea all the way to animation. This one's a weird and creepy design, and honestly, it might end up being one of the most annoying enemies in the game. In a good way. So first, I started off with my sketchbook. That's usually where I like to get all my ideas out quickly. For this enemy, I had this strange image in my head, a floating brain with claws. I didn't want it to look like anything too ordinary. I wanted something that felt off, something that would make players uncomfortable just seeing it coming toward them. Once I was happy with the rough sketch, I moved over to Piskel to start outlining it digitally. The outline is where I begin to really shape the form. I gave it some claws early on. I knew I wanted it to have a creepy, grabby kind of vibe. It actually took me a few tries to get those claws right. I wanted them to look sharp and aggressive, not cartoonish. I also gave it legs at first just to block out the shape. But as the design came together, I realized the legs didn't fit the creature at all. So I got rid of them later on. Now you're probably wondering, what is this thing even supposed to do in the game? Well, it's actually a floating brain enemy. When it gets close enough to you, it grabs onto your head and locks you in place. While you're stuck, other enemies can rush in and start attacking. It's a setup enemy, more about disabling the player than dealing damage itself, but yeah, you will take damage while you're stuck. I thought it would be a cool way to make combat more intense and force players to stay mobile and aware of their surroundings. Okay, now let's go back to the designing. Once the basic outline was done, I added the eyes. I wanted them to look angry, like this thing isn't just creepy, it's mad that you're even here. I played around with adding a mouth too, but it just didn't fit. The mouth made it look a little too goofy, so I got rid of it. Then came the coloring. I went with a pinkish tone for the brain. I spent some time tweaking the shade, trying to make it pop without looking too bright. After I settled on a color, I added some details and texture to make it feel more brain-like, you know, those little ridges and folds. The claws got the same pink color treatment, and I added some shadows to give them depth. Then I went back and added detail to the legs and claws, just to give the whole sprite a more finished look. I also tried using a lighting brush to give the sprite a bit of extra glow. But honestly, it didn't look that great. Kinda washed everything out, so I scrapped that idea. Sometimes simple just looks better. Then came the big change. I removed the legs and replaced them with arms. It made way more sense for the kind of behavior I had in mind. The arms gave it more menace, like it's reaching for you instead of just floating around. Once I was happy with the final design, I started animating it. My animations are usually pretty simple. I like to keep them short and readable. For this enemy, I went with just 2 frames and added some squash and stretch to make it feel more alive. I also experimented with adding green particles around it, but I ended up removing those too. I think they might work better as in-engine effects. By the way, The Queen's Quest is coming to Steam soon, so keep an eye out if you want to wishlist it or try the demo when it drops. Let me know what you think of the new enemy down in the comments. Thanks for watching. I haven't made a long-form video like this in a while, so I hope you enjoyed it.